Okay, now that we know a little bit about the interface, let's take a look at how we can do navigation with inside of Maya. Okay, so we've got this grid here. What might make it a little bit easier for us to kind of understand what is going on is if we create some kind of objects, some kind of primitive that we can kind of look at. So if you got your shelf open here with the modeling, you can click on make a polysphere, or you can make a polygon cube. Let's just go ahead and click on that. But before we do, I think you might want to check out some options up here. Just like what we got here, we can go up to create and we can go to Polygon Primitives and we can say cube. Now, what is on by default probably is this interactive creation. If that's on by default, you'd be able to take and click and drag on the grid here, click and drag, and then you can kind of drag up a cube. Some people might like that to make certain kind of shapes. I'm not a big fan of that. I like to just have the cube that it generates be a specific size. So I like to go to create Polygon Primitives and turn this interactive creation off. So now that I have that, I can go click the cube. I can go to the option box. I could click on that as well. And you can see here's the default settings for this. So if I just go ahead and say edit reset settings, this is the default settings for this. It's going to give you a width of 1 by 1 by 1 and a division in 1 and 1 and 1 for the cube. So this is a default Maya like size for 1 unit. What we could do is make this 10 by 10 by 10, and we can leave the divisions the way it is. Let's go ahead and hit apply real quick, and you can see it's going to make a cube for us. If we come over here to the channel box and make sure that you're here and you can actually see the channel box through here, if you go to the inputs, we could always change these values again. So you can see if I did a value of 10, I can do something like this and this and something like this. So now this cube is divided 10 times. Now I could take these, I could select this, hold down shift, select here, tap 2, and you can see now we've got some divisions like that. All right, that'll be enough to at least let us kind of see what's going on with the cube. We could also come up here and we could turn on wireframe on shaded, which will show you the actual geometry, and it'll display on here during the shaded mode. Some things to note about hotkeys is if you tap 1, 2, or 3, like if we have this cube selected, that's going to show you the base cage. If you tap 3, it's going to do a smooth mesh version of that. If we tap 4, we're going to see wireframes. If we tap 5, we're going to see shaded. 6 is going to be textured. 7 is going to have lighting on it. And I think that'll be enough for us. Again, let's turn the lighting off. We don't need that. And let's click this cube again and tap 1. So that's just something to kind of help you remember some of these hotkeys for this, just to kind of look at. So let's, now that we've had this object and kind of know some of that, let's get into the navigation part. So the first part I'll have you do is just hold down Alt and then left click and drag. And so this is going to be our rotation. And you'd like to go ahead and try that a few times. Hold down Alt, left drag. And you can always get the orientation of where you're at. Remember that this is the front of the scene right here. Z is going to be facing down this way. X is going to be going down and through here. And then Y is going to be going up and down. So get yourself familiar with rotating around. Now, if you have a kind of an older school mouse like what I have, it's going to be easy to do this. If you do Alt and middle mouse and you click, that's going to pan this thing around. So now we've got a way to hold on Alt left mouse and we can drag and rotate around, and then switch from Alt to middle mouse to pan the scene around and kind of push it around like that. Now if we want to zoom in and out, we can Alt right click and then drag up and down, and that's going to give us our zoom right there like that. So you should practice that a few times. And then when you start working in combination with everything, you're going to use your first, middle, and right button to kind of move around, position things, and then zoom in and out. And remember about the interface, if we tap the space bar, we can go to these different views. So we've got a top view, front view, and a side view. And if we work in here, Alt and left mouse doesn't do anything. If we do Alt and middle mouse, we can pan around. If we do Alt and right click, we can zoom in and out. Because in an orthographic view, a top view, front view, side view, there is no rotation on those type of cameras. They're locked and they're fixed. So that's why the Alt left click doesn't work, and it says orthographic views are currently locked. So you can position each one of these differently the way that you want. Each one of these can have its own kind of view parameters. So you see this one's got wireframe on shaded, these don't. And we can go ahead and actually turn that on for each one if you want. And you can kind of zoom out. Another thing you can do is if you hold down Alt and you middle mouse wheel, that'll give you a zoom as well. So if you're used to zooming that way from maybe another program called 3D Studio Max or something like that, then that might be a little bit more comfortable for you. So I'm going to come over here in this window, tap the space bar, and again, Alt left click is going to rotate, Alt middle click is going to pan around, and Alt right click is going to zoom in and out for us. Something else to note is if we get an object really far away, on navigation, if you select the object, just select it by tapping on it, and then tap F, and it'll frame on the selection of that thing. And it'll actually put the camera origin at the center of this. So you can see now I'm kind of spinning around the center of that object. Okay, so I think that's going to be enough for you to kind of take a look at, kind of get familiar with the navigation of Maya, and get you to be ready for the next step where we're going to start working with objects and working with these primitives.